Long ago, the brother nations lived together in peace. While the Fire Nation specializes in producing matches, firewood, and gas cookers, the Water Nation specializes in drilling boreholes, fetching water from streams, and manufacturing sachet water, aka pure water. Also over there is the statue of humidity, holding cup and jug. Then finally, the Earth Nation, who specializes in producing cement and bricks and building houses. So each nation has her own ruler, which in this case are called the Federal Lords. For centuries, the brother nations served each other in peace, until after successions of Federal Lords, the newly appointed Federal Lord of the Fire Nation climbed an electric pole and tried to invent lightning bending, but eventually died of electric shock. After his death and leadership of 2 days, his wicked brother became the ruler of the Fire Nation, and his name was Federal Lord Osas. So Federal Lord Osas decided that he wanted to wipe out the other Federal Lords so that he can rule all three brother nations as one nation and call it Nigeria. The two other Federal Lords of the Water Nation and Earth Kingdom said over their dead bodies that not in their lifetime will a fellow Federal Lord wipe them out. Not with all their steeds. Then Federal Lord Osas got angry and made a decree that they shouldn't worry, that on the day of the petrol and kerosene comet that he's going to burn everybody alive and one new nation will be reborn. It was like, Nigeria forever! Nigeria forever! So just in case you are wondering what the petrol and kerosene comet is, it is an event that happens every once in 100 years in the Fire Nation, where all the crude oil they have been drilling for years are turned into petrol and kerosene. And this is when Federal Lord Osas plans to launch his attack. 1 year later, the Council of Chief Priests foretold a revelation that the Federal Lord of the Earth Kingdom will give birth to a son, and his name shall be called Amaka. And Amaka, on the day of the petrol and kerosene comet, will defeat Federal Lord Osas. And so it happened. 1 year later, Amaka was born, and ladies and gentlemen, that's me, your humble boy. I'm the Amaka, the one destined to defeat the Federal Lord Osas. So when Federal Lord Osas received the news that Amaka has finally been born, he sent off his 10-year-old son to find me and possibly delete me from the planet. And he must do this to regain his honor as the rightful heir. As in, even me, I was confused. Like, which honor again? What did the innocent 10-year-old boy do? But Ugochi, who is known in the Fire Nation as Prince Ugo, had no choice but to obey his father and embark on a mission. Otherwise, his younger sister, Princess Azuka, would take his place as the heir. So when my father, the Federal Lord of the Earth Kingdom, heard that his newborn child was being haunted by Prince Ugo, he decided that the best way to hide me was to preserve me in a fridge for 12 years. No guys, like seriously, my parents put me, their 6 months old prince, in the fridge, turned on the fridge and padlocked it for 12 long years. So during this time, Prince Ugo was accompanied by his uncle Irene. They took 5 years to sail across River Niger in a journey that would have normally taken them 5 days. So why did it take 5 years? Well, Uncle Irene was taking his time to teach Prince Ugo the Fire Nation martial arts on how to cut firewood from the bush and how to light matches, which took Prince Ugo 4 years, 364 days to master. On the last day, they finally arrived at the Earth Kingdom. Despite the threats of Prince Ugo, the Federal Lord of the Earth Kingdom and his people stood their ground and challenged Prince Ugo and his army and attacked them. Nah, come and see fight. While the Fire Nation army were striking matches and throwing firewood, the Earth Kingdom were packing sand with their hands and throwing inside people's eye. The war was epic, although the Fire Nation had the upper hand because have you ever tried using sand to quench fire before? Yeah, it can be frustrating. Also, despite having the upper hand, Prince Ugo and his army were no longer seen clearly. Their eyes were full from all the sand at this point, so they had to retreat. They tried their best but could not find me, so they just kidnapped the Federal Lord and his wife and left. So it's been 5 years since after the attack, which makes it 12 years since I've been inside the fridge, and the Earth Kingdom has been finding it very difficult to heal from the war without their Federal Lord. So for this reason, the Earth Kingdom became an apocalyptic city, full of burnt houses, homeless people, and destroyed properties displaced all over the nation. But meanwhile, I'm still inside the fridge, oh. I'm still inside the fridge. I'm still frozen inside the fridge, which was buried among other scraps during the explosions. But don't worry, today's about to be my lucky day. So there were these 2 siblings from the Water Nation who were coming to steal scraps from the Earth Kingdom to sell them. Their names were Sola, the elder brother, and Ivana, the younger sister. During their scavenging, they ran into a big old rusty fridge which was not connected to any power source, but for some reason it was still on. So they tried to carry it, but it was too heavy. So they broke the padlock and opened the fridge, and behold, a frozen fish. A frozen boy. A frozen boy in ice. So they carefully melted the ice, and behold, a 12-year-old boy on diapers, or pampers, I don't know what you call it. And they were like, not be Gadus be that. Myself, who just gained consciousness for the first time in 12 years, were like, Gadus, how? Do you know me before? Have we met? They said their grandparents have told them tales about the legend of Amaka, who was preserved inside the fridge to save the brother nations on the day of the petrol and kerosene comet. And I was like, wow, okay. So I grew up inside the fridge, and the first day I opened my eyes, I'm already a celebrity. Okay, nice. I told them that I have no idea what you guys are talking about. But I mean, let's save the world. And they were like, hey! So I decided to follow them back to the Water Nation, which is presently the safest place to be on the planet right now, because the Fire Nation has not yet been able to invade the Water Nation. In fact, Prince Ugo and his Fire Army, when they suspected that I might be in the Water Nation, they tried to invade the Water Nation, but as soon as Federal Lord Water of the Water Nation ordered his people to connect their pumping machines to the Atlantic Ocean, that was the end. They flushed out the Fire Army. Within minutes, everything from their ship to their firewood to their packets of matches, everything was soaked up and flushed out. Although despite their flushing power, the Water Nation is still very much afraid of how powerful and unstoppable the Fire Nation will be on the day of the petrol and kerosene comet. In fact, they have been calculating how many pipes and hoses and liters of water it will take them to quench fire burning from 2 million barrels of petrol. So now they are all counting on me, the Amaka, to save them all. So speaking of me, well, like I said, I'm following Sola and Ivana to the Water Nation. But before that, we're going to need a ride for the three of us. So here in the Earth Kingdom, we do not have flying biceps, but we have running cows that can run faster than horses. So I selected one of the running cows that once belonged to my lost father, and we went through a list of names that sounded like Appa, from the original movie. And we couldn't find any good name to stick with, so we just go with different names. Sometimes we call her Papa, sometimes Sakpa, sometimes Japa. Anyone I beg, Panapa. So Japa, yep, and Japa carried us all to the Water Nation. So when we got to the Water Nation, we visited an ancient, isolated library in a desert to learn more about my legend. And we found out in one of the books that before I'm able to defeat Federal Lord Osas and his Fire Army, I must travel to the Spirit World to seek advice and training from one of the most powerful Federal Lords of the Earth Kingdom that ever lived. And his name was Federal Lord Ojuku. So Ivana was like, okay, it's making sense. Spirit World, the most powerful Federal Lord Ojuku. So speaking of Spirit World, how will Amaka go to the Spirit World? Exactly. That's the point. How does one go to the Spirit World? Because I've sat still and tried meditating like Eng, but the Spirit World was not spiriting. So Sola was like, Spirit World? It's easy now. Just smoke strong weed. And we were like, okay, excellent idea. So later that day, we visited a weed expert to get some weed. And the weed expert was like, no. Smoking weed will not take you to the Spirit World. It can make you temporarily run mad. You think you are in the Spirit World, but in reality, you have Kolo. What? Why are you guys looking at me as if the weed was my idea? So I asked him, how do I now enter the Spirit World? Then he gave us a recipe. He said we should prepare a very thick quality pepper soup and add half teaspoon of rat poison and drink. Yeah. I mean, it was scary, but we had no choice. So we returned home and Sola and Ivana followed the recipe and prepared the pepper soup. And the first spoon I took sent me to the Spirit World in less than 0.5 milliseconds. And Ivana was like, that was fast. It's not supposed to take some time for him to start shouting bele bele before he goes. So my brethren, I'm glad to announce to you that my humble self, Yamaka, has successfully been sent to the Spirit World. Can someone make some joyful noise? So guys, when I got to the Spirit World, you won't believe the legends I met. I mean, there was Federal Lord Nnamdi Azikiwe, Federal Lord Obasanjo, Federal Lord Obafemi Awolowo. Guys, I wish you followed me to the Spirit World. You need to see how all of them were standing there with their black and white faces like those pictures we used to see in our parents' textbooks. And there was also Federal Lord Tinubu, the grandfather of Federal Lord Osas, the Fire Nation. You will never forget what you did to Can you stick to the script, senor? Please? Okay, back to the story. So somewhere in the middle of the lineup, I met Federal Lord Ojuku, and he said to me, Amaka, as an earthbender, you cannot defeat the Federal Lord Osas by pouring sand into his eye. Pouring sand is a weak and outdated method of earthbending. To defeat the Federal Lord Osas, you must master the catapult state and attack with stone instead of sand, which is why the Y-shaped rivers that divide the three nations represent the catapults. But after he said that, I was like, but Federal Lord Ojuku, in the Earth Kingdom we are very calm and peaceful people, and we avoid fighting with stones because they can burst people's head. And then he was like, Amaka, to restore balance, you must defeat the Federal Lord Osas. And to defeat the Federal Lord Osas, you must burst his head. Take these catapults, go to Landmark Beach in Lagos, and pick 5 fresh stones. On the day of the petrol and kerosene comets, use the first stone to target his forehead. If he doesn't die, use the second stone to target his neck. And if he doesn't die, use the third stone to target his chest. And if he doesn't die, the fourth stone to target his stomach. And if he doesn't die, then it is time. Take the last stone and you know where to target. And I was like, where to target. You mean the center of his universe? Exactly. The center of his universe. So after Federal Ojukwu taught me the 5 stages of the catapult state, I collected the catapult and it was time to return. But wait, I'm so screwed. So this was when I realized and remembered that the weed expert only told us how to enter the spirit world, but didn't tell us how to come out. Shoot. My brothers and sisters, this was how I got trapped in the spirit world. And I'm pretty sure I'll be here for the next, well, I don't know for how long, but hopefully not forever. Because what the fuck? I can't just die like that. I mean, first I grew up in a refrigerator and now I'm trapped in the spirit world forever. Anyways, I wonder what Sola and Ivana are up to. So it's been a week since I've been trapped in the spirit world and both siblings are losing their minds, shouting on top of each other's voice. Ivana was like,
Shola, you're a very wicked boy. I thought the weed man said half teaspoon of rat poison.
Then Sola was like, it's not my fault now. I thought he said large, thick spoon of rat poison. So after hours of arguments, they carried me to the weed man to sort out an antidote for the poison. And at this point, I believe y'all know what the antidote is going to be. So the weed man brought out an enormous gallon of palm oil alongside an old flute. That for the palm oil to work, someone must blow the sacred music of resurrection in order to summon the heavens to have mercy. Because at this point, this is no longer Amaka returning from the spirit world, but Amaka coming back from the dead. So Sola said he can play the flute, that he learned the music when they visited the library. That is when we visited the library that time. So he started. Yes, yes. Oh yeah, blow another key. Sola is not like that now. So Ivana and the weed man told Sola to stop before he summons evil spirits. So they started pouring the palm oil into my mouth. It wasn't working. So they finished 1 liter, finished 3 liters, it didn't work. They finished 9 liters, I was still lying there, face full of oil, stomach swelling like 2. Until after they finished the entire 12 gallon of palm oil. Then I was like, I woke up. And everybody was so happy. They were like, oh yeah, let's go and defeat Federal Odosa. The day of the Petra and Kerosene Comet is near. And I was like, yo, y'all should calm down. I can't defeat the Federal Lord with this kind of belly. I mean, 12 liters of palm oil in my stomach. I couldn't even get up. So the whole team, Amaka, agreed that I should let the palm oil digest. So that's how I sat there for months, going to toilet 12 times every day for a good 9 months until everything finally digested. Whew. So now I was ready to face the Federal Lord Osas. So our plan was for the 3 of us to camp at the Southern Water Temple and wait for the Federal Lord Osas to attack on the day of the Petro and Kerosene Comet. So Japa carried us and we took off. So all this while we have been in the middle of the jungle where the weed man's bunker was located. And now we are finally out in the city. And I ain't finna lie, everything felt off. All the Water Nation skyscrapers have disappeared. There was no light, which has never happened before in the Water Nation. And everywhere was just awfully noisy and people were just complaining everywhere. I want for this country, I want for this country. And we were just so confused because for centuries the Water Nation has been one of the richest and most developed nations of the world. And we were like, which country are they talking about? We've never had people say country before. We were used to the Fire Nation, Water Nation, and Earth Kingdom. Nevertheless, we got to the Southern Water Temple and weirdly enough, there was this strange green and white flag waving on top. Like, what the fuck is that? Like me and Ivana and Sola were just lost as to what was going on in the Water Nation until we saw one man pasting one APC poster. So we called him and asked him what was going on and he said, that where were we when the Petra and Kerosene Comet took place last week Friday? And Federal Odosa has already burnt down every building in all 3 nations and rebuilt them as a single nation, which now calls something like Nigeria. So the poster man left us speechless and continued with his vote for Buhari poster. Meanwhile, our jaws dropped for minutes as we were just so confused. We didn't even check to know the exact date of the Petra and Kerosene Comet. So while I was busy digesting palm oil, things were happening. Then Sola slapped his face, put his hand on my shoulders, looked me in the eye and said to me, "Bro, you are the most useless servant I've ever seen."